So in case anyone missed that, Borough Council will be with us in a few minutes. They're just finishing an executive session.
Terry, can you hear me?
Yes, Ted.
Yes, Ted.
Okay. I think I'm starting to join.
Okay. We have begun recording and streaming, just so you know.
Okay. All right. I can't see if everybody's here.
I think everyone's still finishing up connecting, Ted. I see everyone's name or picture. Just a couple more seconds once they're connected.
Okay. I'll give it a few more minutes.
Yes,
Okay.
hopefully,
Okay.
hopefully.
Yeah. Right. Be more active.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's good. We need that too, I guess. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You know, I have a question for you. So my house is similar to your house.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, there's the kitchen's here and the dining room. Just
Right.
long.
Mhm.
I don't have this hallway going through my,
Right.
but you knocked this wall down to make the dining room and the kitchen
Oh, like
all one. Did you ever think of knocking this wall down?
I did, but my wife didn't want it.
Why didn't she want it?
She just didn't want that, all that openness into the family.
Yeah, that's what I don't want.
Yeah.
And I think this is a load-bearing wall in my house.
It could be.
And I have the air conditioning unit right above that, so I don't
Okay.
really,
Right.
I mean, I know they can do stuff and it doesn't hurt the house, but
Mhm.
it's probably better not to
Right.
screw with things.
Yeah.
Just screw with.
I have other parents. No, I want that. Problem.
Yeah, because I don't want to sit here in the living room
Right.
looking at
Yeah.
dishes in the
Exactly.
kitchen sink. I don't mind if you're in the dining room.
Right. Yes. This is part of the issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then I had somebody come, and I have my back door here,
Right.
and I have double windows, just like you do.
All right,
He
I-
wanted
I think everyone's here. We're gonna call this meeting to order. We were late coming to this meeting because of an executive session before this, for personnel. So calling to order the Tuesday, February 16th meeting of the Borough of Morrisville Council. Can we please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic which stands one nation under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
that was stupid.
Yeah. Yay, Morrisville.
All right. Virginia, if we have a roll call, please.
Yes. Mayor Rivella? I'm sorry, Mayor Rivella? Councilman Bowers?
Here.
Helen Halaho?
Here.
Dwayne Nicol?
Here.
Sorry, Councilman Parker?
Here.
Councilman Paul?
Here.
Councilman Robinson?
Here.
Councilwoman Sherlock?
Here.
Councilman Yeager?
Here.
Our borough solicitor is here, Randy and Scott, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, just one addition to the agenda. I want to put it there now before we get to public comment. There will be one action item, and that will be to affirm Micah Hines to continue in the acting borough manager position until we complete the hiring process. All right, we have some presentations tonight. 4A is an update on the comprehensive plan.
Hi, my name is Bryn Aaron. Am I able to share my screen so that I can share a PowerPoint presentation?
I believe you can.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second. I believe I have to allow that. Okay, see if you have the option now.
All right, yep, here we go. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, everyone sees the screen?
Yes.
All right, so tonight we're giving a presentation on the Morrisville Borough Comprehensive Plan Update, and we've been working with the Morrisville Planning Commission on this plan since 2019. So we're very excited to be at this point where we can, where the plan is up for an adoption vote. Just for time's sake, should be about a 15-20-minute presentation. If everyone could put themselves on mute and we can just hold all questions and comment until the end, that would be greatly appreciated. So starting out, just what is a comprehensive plan? It's a municipality's main policy document that summarizes planning and development issues. It's a statement of future goals and a vision for the community, and it's an aid to land use planning and decision-making. As per the MPC, municipalities should update their comp plan every 10 years. And this plan fulfills these following, this plan fulfills the requirements of the MPC and addresses the following community planning issues. So our planning process, we met with the Borough Council in August 2019 to discuss the plan's process and agree on content and direction. 11 meetings have been held thus far, all of which were open to the public, and meetings were always advertised on the borough's website, and meeting minutes are available for review. As part of the public process, a resident survey was conducted in January 2020, and a full draft plan was posted on the borough website in October 2020. A meeting was held last December in order to receive public comments regarding the draft, and changes were made to that October 2020 draft based on feedback from the public. All council members should have picked up their copy of the February 2021 draft, and we will review the changes that were made to that draft at the end of this presentation. The anonymous survey was posted to the borough website in January 2020 and was circulated around various social media pages. It was answered by over 350 borough households, and the purpose was to hear from as many residents as possible. Those views were then considered in the development of this plan. Along with multiple choice questions, there were a handful of open-ended questions asked. Do you plan on retiring in Morrisville? How would you rate the quality of life? Do you have any other comments? And the answers from these questions were then formed into a word cloud, which is a text analysis tool that shows the representation of words based on frequency and relevance. So several themes emerged from this word cloud. Importance of family, children, and home. Worries regarding crime and quality of life issues. Frustration with high taxes and the school district. Desire to improve the borough's physical and economic structure. Satisfaction with the people of Morrisville and the borough's sense of a small town community. So each of these themes influenced the principles and recommendations of this plan. It was crucial that the opinions of the community members are being addressed and that the vision of the plan reflects those hopes and desires of the public. So the plan is organized into the following 5 principles: livability, heritage, equity, mobility, and resilience. What follows is a list of activities that is crucial to the plan's success. It is the plan's 10 core recommendations. Comprehensive update to the zoning ordinance, redevelop and reuse vacant and underutilized parcels, review zoning standards along Trenton Avenue and Bridge Street, pursue grant funding to implement physical improvements, encourage non-residential development and redevelopment, establish a public riverwalk, complete the Levy reaccreditation, adopt the Morrisville Downtown a Blueprint for the Future plan, preserve neighborhood integrity, and publicize on the borough's opportunities and strengths. So now we will begin to summarize each chapter of the plan. Regional character. So Morrisville is located on the eastern border of Bucks on the Delaware River opposite of Trenton. The borough has a genuine small town feel and a compact downtown district. This is our first map of existing land use. Population characteristics. So basic demographic measures of population can provide a sense of the key characteristics of a community and an indication of where it's headed. Morrisville's population peaked in 1970 and has the second largest population among lower Bucks boroughs. The median household income has been rising and educational attainment has significantly increased. Housing. So the state of the housing stock greatly impacts all facets of life in the borough, especially the quality of life and economic health. The most predominant housing in the borough is single-family detached housing with homes built before 1940. The home ownership rate is 61%, and nearly half of survey respondents chose to live here because of the cost of living. And addressing neighborhood quality of life issues were noted among some of the most important out of all survey respondents. And here is the zoning map that we have in the plan. Natural resources serve not only to help maintain the character of a place and enhance the quality of life, but understanding their importance is also crucial for helping guide land use planning and future development decisions. So this chapter provides an inventory of the existing important natural resources in the borough that should be protected and regulated, including wetlands, floodplains, trees, as well as other topics of environmental concern for an urbanized municipality such as air quality and water quality. And here is our natural resources map. Economic and non-residential activity. This chapter analyzes commercial and industrial activity in Morrisville Borough, as well as the employment characteristics of the borough residents. And understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the borough's non-residential land use base is important for making policy decisions as they relate to zoning and infrastructure. So we concluded that commercial development is focused along the riverfront, office development is limited, and the borough is no longer an important center of industrial activity like it once was. And the boundaries of the certified redevelopment area were expanded in 2019. And survey respondents noted that basic infrastructure was failing and in need of upgrades. Community services and facilities. These are necessary to maintain the public health, safety, and welfare of the community and help to provide for the quality of life expected in Morrisville Borough. So the borough administration coordinates the daily operations of borough government. Public Works Department is responsible for the maintenance of the borough's property. The borough is a gateway between two states via 3 bridges, and survey respondents noted that they are unhappy with high real estate taxes and the quality of education within the schools. And here is our community services and facilities map. The next chapter reviews parks, recreation, and open space. These resources are an important part of a community's identity and overall quality of life. Open space contributes to the borough's small town character, preserves the natural ecosystems upon which we depend, and provides an attractive setting in which to live and work. Park and recreation facilities provide an avenue for residents to interact and to help create a sense of community. Park and recreation resources are an underlying strength of Morrisville and should be a key component of future revitalization efforts. So the 2008 Borough of Morrisville Open Space Plan accomplished several plan goals, which are highlighted in this chapter. And the borough actually has the most acreage of parkland amongst surrounding lower Bucks boroughs. And here is the parks, recreation, and open space map that we have created. Historic preservation is an inherently sustainable activity that maximizes the use of existing materials and infrastructure. By preserving historic structures, we're able to share the various spaces and environments in which generations before us have lived. The borough contains resources listed on the National Register of Historic Places and has a couple listed on the National Historic Landmarks. The borough also has a historic society that seeks to preserve the heritage of the area. Our historic and cultural resources map. Next chapter that we talk about is transportation and circulation. The function of a transportation system is to provide for the movement of people and goods between places. The adequacy of the system is influenced by the type and size of population growth and land development that occurs along the network. So proper land use planning is critical to prevent adverse effects to the transportation network due to improper development. So we have SEPTA that provides public transportation to borough residents. We have the Calhoun Street Bridge, Lower Trenton, the Trenton Makes Bridge, and the Morrisville Trenton Bridge, which are operated by the Delaware River Joint Toll Bridge Commission and are currently operating at capacity conditions. Traffic calming measures increase the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists, and walkable and bikeable communities support sustainable urban environments. According to the community survey, the majority of residents use a car for their commute to work and also to get around outside of work. And the Calhoun Street Bridge also accommodates Morrisville's portion of the East Coast Greenway. The coordination of water resources, wastewater facilities, and land use planning is a vital component to the comprehensive plan, and each is a part of the borough's interrelated water system. Water and wastewater facilities are key factors in determining the location, nature, and density of future development. The wastewater treatment plant in Morrisville serves around 40,000 residents. And green stormwater infrastructure can reduce runoff caused by impervious surfaces. And survey respondents noted that flooding in some neighborhoods has become an issue. Solid waste management can be described as the process of providing an economically and environmentally sound means of storing, collecting, transporting, processing, and disposing of waste and recyclable materials. This is a chart of recyclable materials that were diverted from the waste stream by borough residents and borough businesses. Contamination of the recycling stream with non-recyclable materials has become a growing issue, and 38% of the waste stream is food and yard waste. The next chapter that we talk about is hazard mitigation. Hazard mitigation planning is integral to a community as it addresses both natural hazards and those caused by human activity. Stakeholders such as emergency management personnel, elected officials, businesses, institutions, and local historical environmental organizations collaborate to support efforts that will minimize risks to life and property. So hazardous incidents and disasters can stretch local resources and budgets, but with pre-disaster mitigation actions taken in advance of a hazardous event, it's essential in breaking the disaster cycle of damage. With careful selection, pre-planned mitigation actions, that can be cost-effective means of reducing the risk of loss. So here we have the borough's highest risks and moderately ranked risks. And especially with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of lessons can be taken, and we discuss that in this chapter. So sustainability is the achievement of meeting the needs of the present generation while protecting resources of future generation. Sustainability recognizes that natural resources and systems are essential to providing both economic benefits and improving the quality of life. And 3 categories can be implemented at the municipal level that can increase energy conservation. And those are transportation, municipal government operations, and building and development. And the goal of the borough's energy policy should be to assure and enhance near and long-term quality of life for all current and future residents. So this is the part of the plan where we go over the accomplishments that the borough has achieved since the 2008 comprehensive plan was adopted. The Morrisville Borough 2008 comp plan outlined several goals and objectives and highlighted 4 main implementation priorities. Those were to adopt form-based zoning, continue Bridge Street revitalization efforts, initiate a comprehensive property maintenance program, and to restore and enhance the riverfront. So a common theme throughout the 2008 comp plan was the need to revitalize the downtown and to make it a focus of future economic development efforts. Morrisville's Downtown, a Blueprint for the Future plan provides the borough and its residents with an outline of success for the downtown. And the biggest recommendation to stem from that blueprint was to enact a new zoning district in Morrisville's downtown. And in 2019, the Borough Council adopted the proposal to amend the C1 Central Commercial District. While this was not necessarily form-based and implements the vision set forth in the blueprint for the future. So that is one of the big accomplishments that we talk about in this plan. And to complement the idea of form-based zoning, the borough set out to continue revitalization efforts along Bridge Street. Since the 2008 plan, the borough approved resolutions to authorize the establishment of LRTA in Morrisville. The boundaries of the certified redevelopment area were expanded to expand the enterprise zone to include additional parcels along Bridge Street. Renaissance Plaza was constructed, a mixed-use building along Bridge Street, which captures the traditional masonry factories of Morrisville's old steel town. Lehigh Rubber has been redeveloped and will have several tenants. And the borough received grants to complete a design project that would eliminate the gap in the towpath crossing at the Bridge Street. And lastly, we talk about some physical improvements that the borough has seen, paving program, traffic signal updates, ADA improvements, lighting, and landscaping. The 2008 comp plan recommended that the borough review safety code revisions to ensure maintenance issues were being addressed. And the enactment and enforcement of property maintenance code standards for rental and owner-occupied housing is a key method to maintaining property values, sound buildings, and attractive neighborhoods. So the goal of the code enforcement is to remedy housing problems and ensure that issues are addressed. And Morrisville's code inspection program has been successful in educating owners and maintaining housing quality. So one of Morrisville's most valuable assets is its riverfront location. And the goal in 2008 was for the borough to further protect and enhance this resource, as well as promote a riverfront identity. The Tate and Lyle site was rezoned for Riverview neighborhood with the intention of promoting mixed-use development along the river at its vacant and underutilized location. Williamson Park is also currently a topic of discussion for the town center concept. So those are some of the certified redevelopment areas. The borough has started the Levy recertification as a result of flood mitigation efforts. And in 2010, the Riverfront Preserve was rezoned to natural lands and community service districts and was preserved as open space. Other accomplishments that the borough has seen that were not necessarily talked about in the 4 implementation priorities were Patriots Park being constructed in place of MR Ryder as a passive park designed to enhance historic summer seat. Playground improvements were made, and the Friends of Morrisville Dog Park was created. So the main purpose of the comp plan is to set out a vision of the future of a community and to provide a physical plan for realizing this vision. The future land use plan for Morrisville Borough provides a framework for planning for the future, and the plan is based on the borough's existing mix of development, zoning district, land use patterns, and its base of historic, cultural, and natural resources. So our final map, the following map that you see, outlines the 4 major planning areas within the borough. The riverfront planning area, the residential north planning area, the downtown planning area, and the residential south planning area. And in the plan, we highlight the opportunities and strengths of each area, as well as recommendations for each area. So our next steps. The Morrisville Borough Planning Commission recommended the document to Borough Council, and a few minor changes were made, which the Borough Planning Commission has approved, and those have been made to the February 2021 draft. So the adoption of the plan now needs a majority vote from members of Borough Council, and that is the step that we are on currently. So that concludes our presentation of the Morrisville Comprehensive Plan update. And I don't know, let me stop sharing. So the February 2021 Comprehensive Plan update, like I just talked about, had a few changes that we made based on our public meeting in December. So if you'd like at this time, I can review those changes. I can bring up the PDF and kind of go through each change that we made and maybe discuss why we made them and then see if there's any public questions.
Could you?
Yeah. Let me share my screen again. Okay. Everyone sees this? So, okay, great. So what follows here is a comprehensive list of edits made to the October 2020 draft. So that was the draft that was posted to the Morrisville Borough website for public review. So based on the Morrisville Borough Planning Commission review of the document and the comments that were received at our December 14th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, we've made the following changes. A lot of them can be editorial, some of them are content changes. So obviously replacing the date to our current month, adding Michael Yeager and Dave Ravella, and just some grammar changes, adding borough to Morrisville Borough and Morrisville Planning Commission. Page 2, I'm not sure if you have your plan with you, if you want to flip through with me. But this came from a recommendation when we discussed the plan at our December meeting. And on page 2, we just talk about some of the parks and recreation land uses. And we wanted to add the riverfront preserve into that group. We made a change on the first map, the existing land use, to change all riverfront preserve parcels to parks, recreation, and protected open space. Also, just another editorial change, mining and manufacturing to industrial. A topic of the public meeting, we got a few comments of the public that wanted to see some more information about the Morrisville Little League. So we had agreed to add in just a couple sentences about the Little League and kind of its history under page 5, which kind of delves into the borough's history. Page 6, we wanted to clarify that under 21st Century Happenings, that the Beautification Committee was the Parks and Open Space Beautification Committee. And there are also some issues with pulling out, kind of highlighting certain tenants in the Lehigh Rubber redevelopment. So we just decided to keep it vague and just say, as of 2020, the building has several tenants. Map 2, there were some zoning changes that need to be made. We changed the zoning designation of these parcels, which I believe were some in the riverfront preserves, a couple parcels adjacent to the riverfront preserve as well. And that was per ordinance number 983. And someone from the public at our last meeting had caught that these zoning changes hadn't been made yet. So they sent the ordinance to me and then I corrected those changes. Page 28, we added that Tree Vitalize requires the borough's commitment to water and maintain any street or shade trees that are planted throughout the borough. Page 30, in chapter 3, housing. This was actually done by the BCPC staff when we did an internal review of the plan. This actually happened after the 2020 Planning Commission meeting, just to be consistent with chapter narrative. We just removed the Consumer Credit Center. Moving on to chapter 4. So it came to my attention at the public meeting that the title Shores at Welcome Park may have just been narrative from previous plans that kept getting regurgitated and putting into current plans. So we reworded this because apparently it's not called the title Shores at Welcome Park. So we just reworded it to say that the natural tidal area provides access to the upper end of the Delaware estuary and marks the upstream limit of the tide in the river. We also edited map 3 a bit more to show the woodlands along the riverfront preserve. Similarly, as the comment before, we removed any tenants that named any certain tenants in the Lehigh River building just to keep it more vague and say several tenants, just because we didn't want to show favoritism towards any certain tenants. We also just restructured a couple things just to say that Patriots Park was developed after the borough acquired and demolished M.R. Ryder Elementary School using a grant received from the Greenway Trail Recreation Program. I think in the previous draft, we hadn't clarified that it was developed after the elementary school was acquired and demolished. Just some editorial, making sure everything says Morrisville Borough. Page 67, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and some of the comments we received from the public meeting, we wanted to add how parks and recreation usage had proved to be very significant, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic and accompanying lockdowns, and that's in the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space chapter. Including in goal number 3, accomplishments, page 68, just including tree plantings and seedlings that came from our public comments. Adding the ongoing annual community-led riverfront cleanup, which is hosted by the Morrisville Environmental Advisory Council. We added the tree plantings at Williamson Park, Borough Hall, Manor Park Playground, and the open space parcel at Delmore and Philadelphia Avenues. We added educational signage that was installed at the Morrisville Riverfront Preserve, as well as guided nature walks and educational efforts at the Morrisville Riverfront Preserve. On page 75, this was reworded to say that the borough owns the 2.1 acre parcel at the intersection of Delmore and Philadelphia Avenues, 1 acre of which is leased by the Friends of Morrisville Dog Park, and the remaining 1.1 acres is municipal open space with a view of the river. So this was just a discrepancy in who had owned the parcel and where the Friends of Morrisville Dog parcel was. These are just some editorial things that we made. Map number 5. We made an edit there to label the dog park as half of the parcel and then a municipal open space as the rest of the parcel. We made some changes. The Manor Park Playground parcel took over the entire Cloverleaf property, so we had to change that to show its actual size. Page 80, under recommendations, we added to explore opportunities for helping realize the goal for establishing a continuous public river walk and trail along the Delaware River. Page 108, this is another edit that we made after the December 2020 Planning Commission, as it just presented some contradictory information. We just removed which will meet unfunded DEP mandate. Some more editorial. Township businesses should be borough businesses. More editorial, just clarifying that the beautification community is the Parks and Open Space Beautification Committee. And something that came from our public comment was to point out that the borough contributes to park maintenance by regularly mowing the grass and picking up the trash and recycling at the Morrisville Dog Park. And And on our implementation tables, which shows the recommendations from each chapter, we stayed consistent when we made a change. We had to make it in the implementation tables. So for natural resources, we added that the borough should ensure budgeting for tree plantings and watering, which is something that we changed earlier, as well as explore opportunities for helping realize a public river walk and trail along the Delaware River. And that concludes all of the changes. Like you can see, most of them are just minor content changes that came from public meeting comments.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council?
I have one. There still are some changes that need to be made to the plan, errors, little omissions. Who is responsible for making them, and how do we get it to those people to have the changes made?
The planning commission, the county planning commission will be responsible.
Okay, not the Morrisville Planning Commission.
No, Bucks County Planning Commission. If you want to send us the changes that will be made, and we can, if they're just grammar issues and there's no content changes, then we can go ahead and make those.
Well, we got an email tonight, and I didn't get a chance to study it, but one of the residents sent a whole list of things that she said that there's issues with. She said the sewer plant is labeled as transportation in map number 1, map number 2, the northernmost parcel across from Greystone, is that really CS2? So she has a whole list here, but I had a few myself, so could you give an email address where we could send it to?
Right. Yeah, I can give you my email address. It is bkerr, BKERR at buckscounty.org.
What we can do is we can take a look at those changes. I know, for example, the sewer plant is probably labeled transportation because that's the land use code that we use, transportation and utility. But we can, anything that is a factual change, we can definitely make that change. Anything that we find is a little bit different, we'll respond to that as well. But anything that, you're really not changing the major recommendations, specifically the land use map, we can go ahead and make that change, and the plan can still be adopted.
Okay.
We weren't taking action tonight because it just got posted, so.
Okay.
Anyone else in council? All right. Anybody from the public who would like to say something briefly?
Would you like me to call on individuals?
Yeah, I mean, if they have something, it has to be brief. We're behind schedule on the meeting as it is.
Okay. So we have 5 people with their hands up. I'm not sure if they all wanted to comment on this, but we'll go ahead and start. Mary Herenda, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Mary Brenda, and I live at 343 Crown Street. I'm also raising my hand for my husband, Don Rice, who wants to follow me in making a comment. And I have a few things to...
This is just, excuse me, Mary. This is
Yes.
just to ask questions about the presentation. This isn't public comment yet. So if you have a question about the presentation of the comprehensive plan.
I do, yes.
All right, we got to keep them brief though, because public comment is after this. So I'm just,
All right.
I'm just opening it up very quickly for.
I didn't understand.
Okay.
The presentation said twice on page, once on page 57, that commercial development is concentrated on the riverfront, which, as everybody that lives in Morrisville knows, is totally incorrect. we have no commercial development on the waterfront that I ever saw. And I don't think anybody else in the borough either did. So I think that needs to be changed.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all.
Okay. All right, Terry, next person with their hand up.
Jackie, if you could unmute yourself.
Yeah, so I was having trouble following it because everything sounded like good and like you wanted to preserve space, but it seemed like you.
Excuse me. You have to have a name and address.
My name's Jackie, and my address is 36 Union Street.
Do you have the last name?
Carroll.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So I heard though in something mentioned that Williamson Park is considered underutilized, which I think you also said that underutilized land can be redeveloped. Is that correct? Are you planning on redeveloping Williamson Park? Still?
Yeah, I think the context of underutilized might have been, or actually, I don't think we said that. I think we said it was well used during the pandemic. As far as the redevelopment of the park, that's not something that this comprehensive plan is tackling. We're noting it because a proposal was put before council, but I think that that's an issue that is really kind of beyond what the comprehensive plan could say anything about, and we were sort of more or less leaving it to council to evaluate the merits of that proposal.
All right. Anything else you'd like to ask the Planning Commission? Okay, Terry, who else has their hand raised?
Joshua, you can unmute yourself.
My hand was raised initially in the intention of for the public comment, not commenting on the proposal.
Yeah, this is just about the proposal. We haven't opened up public comment yet. So.
Yes, I'm aware. I was just clarifying.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Next would be Steve Fowler.
Hi, this is Stephen Fowler, 444 Hillside Avenue here in Morrisville. My biggest problem with the comprehensive plan concerns the hazard mitigation in table 43. I need you to take a second look at that. One of the hazards is given as earthquake, and there's no way that you can have as an earthquake hazard to a daycare facility on Harper Avenue and have no earthquake hazard to the fire department, which is located 2 blocks from that particular location. If you're going to have earthquake listed as a hazard, then the entire town should be covered. So all of those facilities that are listed on table 43 on page 118 need to be entered as yes for the hazard being for each of those facilities. The other item concerns a rail hazard. I do not see how a facility on Hillcrest Avenue would be in a hazard area for a rail line, which doesn't pass anywhere near Hillcrest Avenue. So again, that whole section of the table needs to be revisited. The other one that I had a problem was airport as a hazard, so that we are on a flight plan for Trenton Mercer Airport, and so is it flood, flash flood, and ice jam? If you could take a look at that, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to ask a question of the commission if they have their hand raised for that?
Deborah Colgan.
No, I'll reserve mine for public comment.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I believe that's it at the moment.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure working with the borough again.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to 4B, which is the Comprehensive Annual Grant Program Report for 2021.
All right, I should have screen share functionality.
Terry, can you make that happen?
Yep, just give me 1 second. Okay, Mr. Heller, you should be able to share your screen now.
Yep.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Kurt Schroeder with Gilmore and Associates, and Wade Helder is on. He's going to operate the presentation and could jump in at any time if there's any questions. I'll probably run through the slides, and then similar to the comprehensive plan, if there's any questions, we can address them at the end. But I'll try to be brief. This presentation is one that we've given the past several years around this time of year, and it accomplishes looking back at what has been done in the year prior. It talks about what's happening in the current year, and then a look ahead at planning for the following year. So we'll go to our first slide. And this is just a simple pie chart that shows a breakdown of the costs in 2020 borne by our company as the engineering firm for the borough. And there are 3 different components we broke it down into. The land development and other reimbursables, those would be pass-through costs. They would be somebody is applying to do business in the borough, and they would then cover the costs that would be incurred for our company to do the review. And that makes up 4% of the total costs. The grant funding and liquid fuels category, which is 50% of the costs, those are actually of the Gilmore fees. Half of those costs are covered by the grant funds that are acquired through the grant applications. And then 46% of our total costs are what we call borough funds or out of pocket. So this would be actual local Morrisville Borough funds that's through the budget that's put together each year. So we'll go to the next slide.
Hold on. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so breaking down this chart further, looking at the borough funds, the out-of-pocket category that we described, we break that down into another 4 categories. The purple is 10%. That's for the MS4. That's that ongoing DEP stormwater management permit process that each year we have an obligation to submit and show progress in that program. So that 10% figure, that's funds that we have not been able to find any outside fund sources to cover. The green shows the design and bid of grant-funded construction projects. So we may find funding through a grant program to cover construction costs, but there may be a component that requires us to put that project together, put it out to bid. That represents 15% of the borough's out-of-pocket costs. The red, general engineering, that's sort of like this catch-all bucket that would be just general duties that we encounter throughout the year, whether it be working with the staff, the public works, responding to issues that arise from time to time, general correspondence, things like that. That represents 35% of the borough's out-of-pocket costs. And then 41% of our efforts, again, that comes out of the local dollars, that goes towards the actual grant applications themselves, putting together the applications and submitting them to the various grant programs. Jumping to the next slide here, this is just more of a breakdown of those 4 pie chart items that we just went through. The grant applications, in that bucket, we did 11 applications in 2020. They averaged approximately $5,000, which is right around what we tend to budget to municipalities to complete a competitive grant application. Of those 11, we received 3 awards, which is terrific. That's a pretty good batting average. And we still have 4 of those applications pending. So sometimes you make the application in 2020, you won't hear about whether they get awarded in 2021. And we all know how goofy 2021 has been, or 2020 was, So some things got actually delayed and deferred a little bit longer than we would have otherwise perhaps seen. And then of the 11 applications, we did receive notice that 4 of those were declined. That happens. It happens routinely, and sometimes it positions us with an ability to reapply in a subsequent grant fund round. Usually they come out annually. Again, we talked about the general engineering, residential correspondences, engineering, reporting and management, miscellaneous public improvements, and general correspondence and communication with borough staff and residents and so forth. The design and bid grant funded projects, breaking that item down, that included the bidding of the Melvin Avenue Basin project. That's for that MS4 obligation. We did bid that in 2020. We will bid that again in 2021, and I can break that down a little bit further in the presentation as to why. The 2020 road paving project, that was putting that package together and putting that out to bid, the annual road paving work that's done. And then 15% of the design of the Patriots Park project. So we did get a DCD grant, which covered 85% of the total cost, but there's a local match requirement of 15%. And so that is a substantial amount of that funding that was applied. And then 15% also for the levy study that we're working on. Again, DCD covered 85% of that, but there is that local requirement. And that's money that's set aside. When we receive a grant, we'll notify the borough, and the borough will make sure in the budget for the following year that funding is in place. And then again, that MS4 stormwater program, that's a PADEP requirement, and it has annual reporting. So while there might be projects that are required to be done, and we do pursue those projects through grants, there's an ongoing annual reporting process that occurs, and that costs a little bit of money to put together. So just a quick review of where the grants are. These are a list of what we refer to as the pre-2020 grants. So these are ones that have been in the works maybe for a number of years or maybe from the year prior. The first one, that's that Bridge Street obstruction project, we refer to it as, but it's that crossing of the canal across Bridge Street. That money has been in place for a number of years. The construction is secured in the amount of $870,000. There's also design money that has come in through other grant funding. Pennsylvania Environmental Council is really behind that and is helping to push that along. Melvin Avenue Basin retrofit, that's that MS4 project we talked about. We had received $187,000 approximate dollars, and it did require that 15% DCD local match. DCD also funded the design of Patriots Park at historic summer seat. $85,000 was funded for that, 15% match. The Williamson Park Master Plan, so that was one we received in last year for $50,000. It does require a 50% match, which I believe it's maybe more like 100% match. It's another $50,000 out of pocket. We sort of tabled that last year for a number of reasons. COVID obviously, impacted. Everyone was uncertain about, local funding and financials. So we tabled it for that reason. And also because there is that pending project that's being considered on Williamson Park. So we thought it would be prudent to delay that project. And we've continued to get that project extended. So the funding's still in place for if and when the borough decides to move forward with that study. The next one, number 5, is the automatic red light enforcement grant. That was a $20,000 grant that was funded. And that's to replace all the regulatory signs. We're working with Public Works Director John Lader in starting to spend down that money to start replacing some of the street signs, speed limit signs, things like that. We hope to do all the signs in the borough with that funding in place and through the efforts of Public Works, which will be the required match funding for that. The DCD number 6, the flood study, that's progressing very well. We did receive $255,000 for that. It did have a 15% local match, which was out of pocket. And that is to try to gain accreditation for the levy. And I can talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. Finally, number 7. Yes.
I noticed that you write down what the funding dollar amounts, and all you write is out of pocket 15%. Is there a way you could go back and fill that in and let us know what that out of pocket dollar actually is?
Sure. We can do that.
Sure.
So yeah, and it truly is it's 15% of that dollar figure, but we can go back and put that broken down into this presentation going forward. Number 7 is the Keystone grant program, which we secured 52% or $52,000 to replace the library roof. And actually, we've had good fortune recently in securing. It has a 50% match requirement, but oftentimes we try to find another grant fund to match funding that's received. And we were able to secure, we applied for the CDBG grant through the county, and the county graciously did award that. So we're hopeful that we can get that project out to bid this year and get that roof replaced without any out-of-pocket cost to the borough.
It's Mike. Can I interrupt for just one quick second to address that?
Sure.
Ms. Halal, if you look at your packet every month, that actual dollar amount is on the spreadsheet that they provide us, just so you know, because it is monthly reported to us as a council.
I'm aware. I want it in the presentation, though.
Okay.
So just grants in summary.
Excuse me, Kurt.
Yes.
Kurt, I have a question about the Melvin Court. It says the 187,000.
Yes.
I was going to ask about other monies, and I see on this page it shows the other 122. But
that's correct.
My question is, in a comprehensive plan, comprehensive plan, it mentions the 187, but doesn't mention the 122. Should we add that to our comp plan? And I know that we're kind of meshing here, but that's a question for, I guess, council to decide too, whether that should be part of the CP.
Yeah, we could reach out to the county and ask if they think that would be appropriate to do so. I mean, this is a continuum thing, so by the time we revise the comp plan, we may have new news that keeps updating it. But we can talk to
that's true. But
the county.
Since it does have the other funding, I thought maybe they both should be included. So go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's a good point. So this is these are the 2020 grants. And the first one there, that's through PennDOT's Multimodal Transportation Fund grant program. And this was a grant to upgrade the traffic signal at Pennsylvania and Trenton Avenue. We did receive $227,000. It does require a 30% match. And in this particular application, which is not uncommon, I believe we asked for upwards of $350,000 in an effort to try to cover the entire cost. We did not receive the full amount requested. We did receive the $227,000, which is great. So we're actually hoping that we can secure some additional funding to try to cover the total costs to the borough. So that project's not really advancing at the moment while we're trying to secure more funds. But we will be advancing it if when needed, and we'll talk to your staff about budgeting appropriately for that going forward. Number 2, that is that Basin Avenue, Melvin Avenue Basin retrofit. And we did receive an additional $122,000, Nancy, as you appropriately pointed out. And that was because when we put the project together, we had assumed a construction budget prior to doing the design. We put the project out to bid. We only received one bid, which is never a good thing. We want to get bidding participation on these projects to get competitive numbers. The price came in substantially higher than the funding we had in place. So we did not proceed with awarding that project. We went back and sought to secure additional funds, and we were able to receive this funding. So we're going to repackage that project and put that out to bid this spring with construction this summer. And then, we'll get all the grass to grow in the fall, and hopefully that project's then completed, and that'll meet our MS4 obligation, which is a very substantial cost, as you see, that's required to be done within a 5-year period of our permit cycle. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that goes forward, and that'll be a tremendous accomplishment for the borough to satisfy their MS4 without any out-of-pocket costs incurred. A lot of municipalities are struggling with that throughout the county and throughout the state. Number 3 there, that's that CDBG grant application. That's going to be the remainder of the funding needed to replace the roof for the library. We hope to put that out to bid in the next few weeks or so. Or maybe it might take us a little bit longer than we had originally planned for unforeseeable circumstances, but that project's going to be done this year also. Number 4 is CDBG grant funding. We received $125,000, and that is for the continuation of the ADA curb ramp upgrades. You know, as we pave roadways, we're required by law to upgrade the ADA curb ramps. And so while we're paving roads or right after we pave the roads, we're constructing the curb ramps. So we're very grateful to receive that county. It's a county grant program. It's actually federal funding through CDBG, but that's a significant award that was received in 2020 and will be constructed this summer. Number 5, Patriots Park at historic Summer Seat. So this was a great set of news when we received notice that the RECP program funded $500,000 towards the construction of Patriots Park. It is significantly less than what we asked for, but again, you know, having that money in hand really helps us to try to secure other match dollars. If we can't secure other match dollars, we can use the real estate value as match for construction. So worst case scenario, we can put forth the $500,000 towards the construction of a portion of the park. Best case scenario, we can leverage this money to try to secure a greater amount of funds to perhaps construct the entire park. So that's in the works in 2020. So again, we had talked about there were a few grants we hadn't heard back yet from in 2020. The first one there, that is West Bridge Street accessibility improvements. Some of you may recall that there was a study done for accessibility pedestrian facilities throughout the borough, and West Bridge Street, there's a sidewalk gap. We applied for $280,000. We actually requested a waiver from the state. This program does allow you to request a waiver from a 30% match. So we're hoping that $280,000 could cover the entire project if it's funded. Also, again, through the PennDOT grant program, the Pennsylvania and Trenton Avenue pedestrian improvements, that was requested for $150,000, and we're hopeful that we'll receive that. The DCD grant application for Manor Park, we're asking for $250,000 in funding. We think we can use a real estate value for the 15% required match, and that, of course, is to upgrade the playground equipment and some accessibility and parking for Manor Park. And finally, number 4, we've asked through DCD for $250,000 in funding to continue to cover the construction dollars needed to get Patriots Park constructed. And again, we're hoping to use real estate value for that match. So here are the projects that were completed in 2020. Again, a lot of this, as you saw earlier in the slides, were funded through these grants. But the construction of historic summer seat accessibility improvements, we did complete the construction of the entire perimeter around what will be Patriots Park, what surrounds the summer seat property. So new sidewalk, new curb ramps, really looks sharp out there. It's a nice safe facility that the borough owns and maintains. So it's nice that that's been brought into a state of good repair. Phase 2 of the levee study, we're about 80% completed with that. That's, again, trying to get the levee accredited with FEMA. We've had some very significant progress. We've had some very favorable results in the research that's been done. So we're very optimistic about hopefully closing that out and at least getting a conditional accreditation acknowledged by FEMA this year. And then hopefully, depending on how things progress with Williamson Park, hopefully getting that levee ultimately accredited with FEMA. The third bullet here, design bid and construction for the 2020 road paving program. We were able to resurface Granville Grandview Avenue, Melvin Avenue, Francis Avenue, Althea Avenue, and Legion Street. Those roads turned out pretty good. Also, the design, bid, and construction for the 2020 curb ramp program. Like I said, those are similar roads, similar intersections for the reasons that we're required to replace the curb ramps while we resurface roadways. So 80% of the design was completed for Patriots Park at Historic Summer Seat. We did pause that design a little bit because we were uncertain how the project would go to construction, whether we'd have to phase it or whether we'd have to, change up the plan set to accommodate funding that's received. So once we get direction on how to take the first bite at that apple with getting the park constructed, we'll be advancing that design to completion. There's still some funding that's in place for that. So, again, we applied for the 11 grants and we won 3, and we still have 4 that are pending. So stay tuned on the results of those 4. So here's just a couple of photos. This is the curb ramp program that was done in conjunction with the paving program. Here's the outcome of the curb and sidewalk accessibility improvements surrounding the historic Summer Seat property. Here's the concept drawing, the latest concept drawing there of historic Summer Seat. Like I said, we have this substantially designed right now. We hope to wrap that up. And again, it's all about securing the funding. I think we have another slide here, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, no, it comes in later. But here's the 2020 grants in summary. We always look at how has this program, this comprehensive grant program, this initiative that the borough has undertaken, how has this worked out for the borough? Is it a success? Is it a failure? Do we want to tweak the way that we approach these? And again, we're happy to report we think this is a tremendous success for the borough. Basically, at the end of the day, in 2020, for every dollar that the borough invested in grant program, whether it be applying for the grants, whether it be to cover the match cost, and you see the significance of the projects. They're very important projects. And we were happy to hear about a lot of those projects in the comprehensive plan presentation, which was terrific. It's a wonderful document that the borough is considering adopting here. But you can see that for every $1 that the borough spent out of pocket, the return on that investment was $8.67. So in 2020, a total in excess of $1 million of outside funding was brought into Morrisville Borough. And that was the result of the investment of $124,000. So yeah, it's a pretty good rate of return. You can see the grant match total there in the grants received was $68,000. So 6% of the grant total was out-of-pocket match monies. So a look ahead at 2021, we still have some pending grant applications, as you know. We want to try to continue to pursue funding to get Manor Park's playground updated and get that parking lot resurfaced and some curb ramps and accessible routes. We have CDBG application for that. Patriots Park at Historic Summer Seat, again, always trying to find construction. That's a multi-million-dollar project, and we're always trying to find more funding to match the funding that's already been put in place. For the levee construction, so we're hopeful that we can gain conditional accreditation with FEMA, meaning that they're going to tell us that all the analysis and reporting that we're submitting to them, that basically they'll find it acceptable conditioned upon us doing certain things. We've talked previously in presentations about the construction of a spillway north of the Calhoun Street Bridge, and we talked about the creation of a pumping station that would actually take any water that accumulates behind the levee and put it back out into the Delaware River. We're actually hoping that we may not need to construct the pump station because the analysis shows that through the implementation of the spillway, only a very small floodplain will remain behind the levee. That's a very significant development that's just come forth in the last few weeks or months that we're working on.
Kurt,
Kurt, yes.
excuse me. Regarding the potential spillway, now if there is one that's constructed north of Calhoun, does that mean the one at, this is my understanding, this could be all rumor, does that mean that the one at Maple no longer exists?
Highly unlikely. We are working carefully with DCNR. You know, that waste gate there at Maple is quite significant. It has significant historic value.
Okay.
The canal itself.
Well, I'd like to see it kept if it can be part of the
absolutely.
program.
Yeah. So we're corresponding between ourselves, our consultants, and DCNR and FEMA, hoping that that waste gate can remain, that DCNR can essentially pledge that they will make sure that it remains closed to keep the water in the canal at all times when there's any predicted rain events, and unless they have an absolute need to do maintenance to dewater their canal.
Okay.
How that concludes is yet to be determined, but within the past week, that's been our correspondence and discussions with the various stakeholders. Next item here is traffic signal upgrades and replacements. We're always trying to find funding. We are securing, like I said, portions of that funding, and we're hopeful that we can find opportunities to get those traffic signals in need upgraded, completed, and we're optimistic that there is funding in place and we'll be able to do that. Sidewalk connections and ADA ramps, you know, again, that goes back to that walkworks plan that was done comprehensively for the borough. So we're always trying to fill in little connections and pedestrian features throughout the borough. And finally, you know, the Borough Hall has its own set of renovations that have been targeted, whether it be the roof, whether it be a complete overhaul of the entire facilities. But if we see an opportunity to grab big money for construction funds for that, we're certainly keeping that in the top priority here.
Kurt, one question about the roof. Scott Mitchell had commented that it's really in dire straits. So I'm hoping that would be a priority
for sure,
rather than, you know, cosmetic renovations.
Yeah, the roof is certainly a high priority. And, you know, unfortunately, we got lucky with the library, but of course, that's a very old historic building. So it really qualified better for that grant program. Usually a low interest loan is about as good as it gets for funding for stuff like that. RACP is a great fund source. We have applied for that in the past, but we can continue to lobby hard for that. And we need to talk to our state legislators who are very instrumental. They've always had Morrisville Borough's back in these grants, but we can definitely lean on them and tell them, you know, we need that to be a priority for them as well.
Thank you.
2021 grants to pursue here. The CDBG grants come out this time of year. So I'm sure we'll be discussions on what to apply for that program. It's been a great program for the borough. It's federal funding. It covers engineering and construction costs. It has no match requirement. That said, unfortunately, this year, the county has created a policy to not cover engineering costs for that. So that's a significant change for us. We need to weigh those options because, you know, again, it was a no-brainer to go for these grant funds. It covered a lot of different projects. It matches really well with state funding, but to now have to cover, you know, 15, 20% of an application with a local match money, I know that's something that we've often had a hard time overcoming just because there's really not a whole lot of excess local funds each year. But we will still get our recommendations in on whether, you know, to submit, and we'll just have to decide, you know, as council, what makes the most sense here. So DCD, great grant program, has a small match requirement of 15%, but, you know, again, there has been some recent change in their policy. You can request a waiver from their secretary, and we have done that. So we'll be targeting that program for a number of different things. DCNR is always a really good grant program, usually for parks and playgrounds and things. The automatic red light enforcement, again, a really good program, no match required. That could be used for like traffic signals and other transportation needs. PennDOT's multimodal transportation fund, again, that's one for various applications, but also traffic signals, green light go. Keystone, that's the one that, the library roof replaced. So, we'll see if we can try to use that for the Borough Hall, but we may not qualify. And we're always keeping our eyes and ears open. We're always talking to the legislators on if there's any other grant funds that are out there. So we'll bring them to you all as well as we hear about those throughout the year. So here's the projects. We're hoping that finally, after many, many, many years, that the construction of this pedestrian linkage across the canal across Bridge Street will be bid by PennDOT this year. We're hoping to finalize some things with their environmental unit and working with PEC to get this project over the finish line. Here is a list of the targeted roads to be paved in 2021. So we're going to be putting that out to bid in the near future, and liquid fuels funding will cover, hopefully, those roads labeled in red there. And you can see the history of the paving that's been done recently. Again, we talked about replacing the regulatory signs in the borough, working with Public Works on getting that Arley money spent down. And then here's the levy accreditation, of course. We're trying to close that, get a conditional approval this year for accreditation.
Excuse me, Kurt.
Yes.
I don't remember seeing that map about the roads for 2021. Can you list them quickly? What's considered?
Yeah, Wade, can you go back to that and maybe can you read those roads off? Do you know them by heart?
Not by heart. I know Hillcrest is the priority road to have done for 2021, okay. And based off of what I believe is the liquid fuels budget, is Hillcrest may be the only road to get done, and I believe Philadelphia Avenue would be the secondary road, and some of the smaller ones, but yeah, I believe Hillcrest is going to be the target road, and we'll see how much we can get done with the liquid fuel budget for this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, again, here's that Williamson master plan that we got the planning grant in place, but we've paused that, and I think we'll continue to pause that as we see how the proposal for Williamson Park progresses. The construction of Melvin Avenue Basin, we're very optimistic that this will be constructed in 2021. All the funding's in place for that. And again, that's a really good success story here to cover all those MS4 costs without any out-of-pocket. So Patriots Park at Historic Summer Seat, as we said, we received the $500,000 with RACP funds, and we do not have any other funding for construction in place yet. We do have some pending applications, but perhaps, if we can't secure other match funding, maybe we just parse out the parking lot in the corner there highlighted in red, and perhaps just construct that component with the $500,000 that's in place currently. And as far as the $500,000 goes, if that parking lot is $250,000, well, we'll probably add $250,000 worth of infrastructure, stormwater management, piping, and things that get built first, before the amenities get built after the fact. Again, continuing to do the design bid and construction of the ADA curb ramps. That's funded through CDBG, through the county. See what else we got here. Replacement in Morrisville's library roof. We're very hopeful that we can get that project out to bid this spring with construction this summer. Again, 2 grants are in place to cover all those costs. So that wraps up our presentation. We're always excited to give this presentation every year. It's been a great success And, we're proud of the results and looking forward to keeping the pace and trying to keep getting these applications in to keep winning these grant funds to cover these important projects.
Thank you, Kurt.
Questions? No problem.
Any questions from anybody? Okay. Kurt, would you be able to do a recommendation on the grants that you think we have a good shot at getting and should apply for?
Yes, Ted, we absolutely need to do that, and we will do that. We'll get that in front of you as soon as we can to give as much advance notice before those are due throughout the year.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Open.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Kurt.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Terry, who?
We have one here that's written. So can we do that one first? The one that's gentleman that's here? Can anyone else hear me or no?
I do.
I can hear you.
Okay. We have one. So we'll start with this gentleman first.
Okay. I think you guys can all hear me now. Yes? Is that loud enough? Okay. Noel Sperry, 531 Prospect Avenue, Morrisville. I'd like to speak about the Williamson Park Town Square project. With the recent tax increases, Morrisville property owners are paying some of the highest tax rates in Bucks County. These tax increases are not only an extra burden on homeowners, but on renters too. Whether they realize it or not, their rent goes up to cover the cost of these tax increases. It's been stated that the park is not utilized to its fullest potential, and it is currently costing the town precious tax dollars just to maintain it. And as I'm sure that the council can attest, there's no money in the budget for park improvements, nor will there be in the near future. There are a few people in town that are loudly screaming, we're completely going to lose this park. That's absolutely not true. We're not going to lose the park. The plans for the park are to reduce its size, then redevelop it for the community. If you look at the plans, the sledding hill, the 1955 Little League World Series Champions Field will be staying right where they are. In addition, the community will have a say in what we want in this new park. Already planned is a new amphitheater to replace the current stage. We could have a walking, running course with static workout stations that incorporates access to the Levy River Walk. We can have new basketball and tennis courts, an additional playground to complement the existing tot lot. We can make sure there's ample lighting and security cameras for the safety of the community and park users, which will further help our police department keep crime out of town. All paid by the developer for us. The developer has money set aside to create a new green space to replace lost park space for a new state-of-the-art baseball complex to be used by the Morrisville Little League. In regards to the levy, the developer will need to cover the cost of recertifying it in order to move forward with this project. This recertification will help eliminate the extra flood insurance costs for property owners around the park. Finally, the increased usage by the new and existing residents will further help reduce criminal activity around the park. All in all, this is a huge win for Morrisville because improvements to our park, improvements to our community is not gentrification. It's making the town better for the people that live here. We get a new and improved park that is easier to maintain, a new state-of-the-art baseball complex. We eliminate the costly flood insurance by recertifying the levy, a new tax base to help our struggling budget, and this becomes a keystone to redevelopment of our Bridge Street Business District, all paid by the developer for Morrisville. Thank you.
All right, Terry, it's your show.
Mary Herenda. You'll need to unmute again.
I'm doing this. Okay. Hi, Mary Renda, still for the rest of the evening at least, 343 Crown Street. Okay, I have a comment on the revised comprehensive plan. In Chapter 7, Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, it says that parks, recreation, and open space are important to the community's identity, sense of community, and quality of life. And the parks and rec are underlying strengths of Morrisville. The open space one is to maintain existing open space, and the plan for the Williamson Park Town Square is basically to get rid of our largest piece of open space, the majority of our open space in Morrisville. On page 73, is basically what the gentleman just said in his comment. Basically, all these, it sounds like this is going to be great for recreation in Morrisville because the conceptual plan says that it will be a complete overhaul of existing recreational facilities. When we saw the last iteration of the conceptual plan, it involved removing all the ball fields except for that one little league field. And as of now, he talks about the park being underutilized. But when you go down there when they're playing ball, all those parks are utilized. And people are in the park every time we go down there. People walking dogs, walking on the levee, playing basketball. And it says there'll be there are supposed to be more basketball, pickleball, tennis ball courts. There will be none of those, only that one little league field. And that's amphitheater. It's going to take up a lot of room and open space that people can't use to recreate. The fourth bulleted item on page 73, it says 5 new ballparks will be built at Cloverleaf property. That's incorrect. That came out of the plan in the second iteration. And I actually asked Mr. McGrath's lawyer about it. He said, where will those where will those ball fields be? He didn't know. He's just somewhere else. That was not a good answer. Somewhere else. And so the last sentence of that, that Morrisville should consider its open space when considering new development opportunities is a very apt sentence. We really need to keep our park. It is part of this community. It is, the first thing you see when you come to Morrisville.
30 seconds.
The comprehensive plan needs to be changed to take this page 73 section out about the Williamson Park Town Center development because it is false. We also need to keep our park and put my husband, Don Rice, is going to speak second. Thank you.
I'll speak second if you're okay with it. Is that acceptable if I make my public comment now?
Please go ahead.
Thank you. I wasn't going to make a comment on this, but I was really disturbed in the last presentation by Gilmore that we saw that Gilmore Associates, and they decided not to pursue the Williamson Park Master Plan at this time. I mean, if that is a Gilmore Associate decision, that's totally unacceptable. They are responsible to us as the public, not to unilaterally make a decision about Williamson Park. There is a public perception that the park is being intentionally neglected. Yes, thank you. At this time. And to then, on top of that, say you're not going to do the Williamson Park Master Plan because you want to give McGrath a chance? That's wrong. That's just wrong on the face of it. So, well, let's go back to what I was going to talk about. Also, we just heard that Gilmore said phase 2 study of the levy was 80% complete. My question is, may I see what is done with the study? It's publicly funded, so it should be publicly available. I would love to see it. I will work with you to get me what has been done, and please consider that. Second, much of the land on which the levee is built is not owned by the borough, unless the borough has more current information than I do. The land was leased by the borough in 1939. There is a portion of the land that is within Williamson Park, but there is a significant portion that follows the levee. It extends approximately from where the stage is and the northern end of the park, all the way down to the Toll Bridge Commission property near the Trenton Makes. All that land was given to the churches in 1885. The borough acknowledged this in their lease. It's directly quoted in the lease. And it is still their property as far as I know, unless there was an agreement at the time the levee was constructed, which I can't find any record of. So I just wanted to alert the borough to the fact that they may not own the land on which the levee is built, much of the land.
30 seconds.
I would say right now, undeveloped, our flood plan is now to wait for the water to go down. You want to build a spillway, perhaps a pump station. That's millions of dollars, where all you have to do is leave the park alone and you won't have to do any of that. And if the levee accreditation goes through, the people on Park and Central should not get rid of their flood insurance. Hopefully your rates will go down if the levee is accredited, but it's still the same levee. Your risk of flood is still the same, and you need to keep your flood insurance, so make sure that you do to protect yourself. That's all.
That's time.
All right, next, if Jackie would like to speak, unmute yourself.
Yes, as I don't think that this development will actually improve the parks, like the.
Could you state your name and address?
Please, for the record.
Yeah, Jackie Carroll, 36 Union Street.
Thank you.
So, developing a park and putting businesses and boutique or luxury apartments isn't going to improve the park. It's going to take away from it, and it's taking also away like the affordability of this town when the apartments are going to start at $1,700, I think it was, a month, which is like unaffordable for everyone I know. I don't know who can afford that. So I do see an issue with gentrification with this also. That's a big issue, and you're pushing out land as well. And right now with COVID, where people are having issues of finding places to go and socialize at a distance and like not go stir crazy, they have this land right around the corner from them, and I see it being used every day. So I don't see how this development would benefit us. I personally know it won't benefit me, and I know many other people who don't see benefit with it. I don't know. The park's definitely not underutilized. Also, if that's something that you're trying to say about it, I'll just end it. That's it. That's my time.
Thank you. Joshua?
Hi, my name is Joshua Kuntz, and I live at 40 Union Street. Thank you for my time, and whenever I can go, is that correct?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start off my time with a fun fact. Some of the earliest provable evidence of sledding is around 100 BCE, over 2,000 years ago. Why is this relevant? Well, for starters, in case anyone hasn't noticed, it has snowed several times over the last month. But more so, it is relevant because every evening I have driven home from work, coming southbound down on River Road. Right before I turned off Delmore onto my road, I have been able to see the treasures that is children sledding at Williamson Park. Night after night, children and their parents sled on the small but accessible hill at Williamson. Now, the first night I saw this, it was simply nice. Kind of a reminder of when I was a child and had greater access to nature's wonders, something that is dwindling in this world. And I have to admit that it made me think about how long it has been since I've done something like that, so wholesome and a nice activity. And then, night after night, 8 p.m. rolls around and I drive, and I see them still diligently sledding. I remember how deceptively alluring it was because of just this image coming into it, being reminded of my history, going deeper into these memories of my own. I think about the preparation needed of donning my armor against the snow so I could survive the chill as long as my little limbs could last. I remember a degree of independence as I test the limits of my own childish thrills in the safety and approval of the adults. And I remember the return home to sanctity found in wholesome exhaustion and hot chocolate rewards. This practice of sledding is something that is economically accessible. Also, growing up as a poor child, can really relate to that. If you only have 3 things, you can do it. You need a sled, snow, and a hill. And wouldn't you know it, but the only easy accessible hill I've seen around here is at Williamson. An aspect of human culture dating back 2,000 years, provably, is taken away by taking away this part and is taken away to the children of this town. It is honestly impressive to me to see how useful Williamson Park is, even in the weathers and other in this weather that others might consider quite unfavorable. And to me, this was another reminder of how precious and invaluable that space is, even if it means shrinking it. That is an invaluable resource that is being wasted. So we should not probably do that. I wanted to share this experience for those who may not have witnessed the survival of this cultural heritage firsthand, recently being fostered in our park. And so I would like to finish this
30 seconds.
With pointing out that if the comprehensive plan does not explicitly and in plain language put forward intentions of the further protections of Williamson Park and the preservations of its intentions against potential commercial and residential-based development, that the comprehensive plan feels as if it is looking to obfuscate the public awareness that such development is being attempted to give false hopes of helping ease tax burdens of what seems like a small and loud portion of our town. That is my time, and thank you for listening.
Next, looks like we have Steve Fowler.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Fowler. I live at 444 Hillside Avenue here in Morrisville. For information purposes, I am a member of the Morrisville Environmental Advisory Committee. However, I am not speaking tonight representing the EAC. I'm speaking strictly as a resident of Morrisville. I have previously gone on record opposing any commercial and residential development of Williamson Park, and I will continue to do so. The park belonged to the citizens when the property was gifted to the community and 40+ acres were set aside. It has become Williamson Park and continues to belong to all of us, and it is a part of our present, and yes, it is a part of our future, the future that we're going to leave to our kids. Please keep in mind that a park of 40 acres, the size of Williamson Park, is once gone, it can never be replaced. No other town in our area has such an incredible park. And if we do not take advantage of that park, it will be taken from us forever. I would like to see Morrisville use Williamson Park as a central part of any redevelopment to occur in Morrisville downtown. Let the park and our overall environment become the draw around any further redevelopment efforts. The park will become a central focus of any redevelopment that occurs in the town. The redevelopment authority of Bucks County, of the county of Bucks, has significant powers that are unavailable to municipality-owned operated entities. So when addressing blighted properties, such as the ability to negotiate for the selection of a developer based on the merits of a proposal rather than the highest bid for a property. These broad powers are especially important for the acquisition of properties for the purpose of eliminating blight and obtaining a redeveloper to work in accordance with an approved local municipal plan. So the redevelopment authority has broad powers when it comes to the utilization of Williamson Park. And I strongly urge the citizens of Morrisville to keep in mind that once that park is gone, as we see it now, there's no getting it back. It's never going to occur anywhere else in Morrisville and will have been taken from all of us. So the other thing to note when we talk about utilization, even if the park is not used every day by every person in town, it's reassuring to know that it is there when it is needed for recreation, when it is needed to be alone, when it's needed for picnics, just playing
30 seconds
through the park. Thank you. Ethically, it would be wrong to destroy this park or to take it for any other purpose than for which it is currently being used. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next, Deborah Colgan.
Hi, Deborah Colgan, 120 West Hendrickson Avenue. The first page of the comprehensive plan explains what a comprehensive plan is. It serves as a policy guide to decision-making about physical development in the community. It should articulate and express these ideas so that future policy choices are clear and consensus-driven. And more importantly, a comprehensive plan must reflect the values and opinions of the community to ensure that outstanding issues are being addressed and that the vision of the plan reflects the community's hopes and desires. A number of years ago, the borough conducted a good public process to determine our hopes and desires for revitalization. Among the outcomes was the blueprint for downtown and the designation of redevelopment areas with strategies. The comprehensive plan acknowledges these efforts and suggests adoption. The expansion of the commercial district to include the Bridge Commission parcels along Bridge Street was not part of this vision, public vision, but it was done so by council with limited public notice and discussion. To now include the Williamson Park proposal in the comprehensive plan is just another example of a few people who have decided what's the best vision for Morrisville, contrary to the public's vision. There are a number of references regarding the Williamson Park proposal, and all are incorrect. The first mention is on page 56. While it may be appropriate to mention that the proposal has been made and is under consideration, that is the only reference to the proposal that should be in the plan. Certainly, the statement that says that the concept at Williamson Park continues the pattern of potential redevelopment proposals must be removed because we don't know that yet. That proposal is still fluid. And the next reference to the proposal demonstrates this fluidity. It's in the Parks and Recreation section, page 73. The details provided have been rescinded, and we do not know yet what is being offered. The only statement that should remain is from the final sentence. The borough should carefully consider the impact to its recreational facilities as it evaluates various redevelopment strategies and plans. The next time it's mentioned, it's an accomplishment. How a development offer could be considered an accomplishment is beyond me. It's changing the meaning of the word, and it's not consistent with the actual borough accomplishments that are listed in the section. An accomplishment is something that has been carried out into effect. This does not belong in this section. Regardless, the Williamson Park proposal is not really known unless you guys or someone else knows something that we don't. Because it is not
30 seconds.
the community, we don't know the costs and final impacts. We don't know the financial aspects and what this means to taxpayers. It certainly does not belong in the comprehensive plan, as the plan needs to represent the community's vision. Again, we are pleading for an open process to planning and decision-making. As taxpayers and residents, we have a right to know what is happening on the Williamson Park proposal and what staff is doing. All of you promised us transparent government, but we aren't seeing it yet. Please, please tell us what is going on and how you will engage with the public on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Next, Nicole and Reza Rahman.
No, look, hi there. This is Nicole and Reza Rahman. We're at 155 Hillcrest Avenue. So I'm going to take the first 3 minutes, and then my wife is going to speak for another 3 minutes. So let me start, if that's okay. So honestly, I'm keeping this entire plan and proposal with a fairly open mind. I don't necessarily have strong opinions one way or the other, but to be honest, I do have some very serious reservations. So to give you some background, let me tell you what I did and share with you what my findings were. So I used to work in New York City for consulting here and there, but I'll be honest with you that those consulting assignments I really tried to avoid. I'll tell you the facts of that. So just going to Penn Station, which is where you would go from Morrisville, it takes about 2 hours door to door. Going anywhere to Midtown, downtown, that's you in all practicality, you have to add at least half hour or an hour more, right? Especially to downtown. So that means a 3-hour one-way trip back and forth. So definitely not something I would endeavor. But regardless, I went and pinged some of my former colleagues that I used to work with in these consulting assignments and really had a chat with them as much as I could. And I had a chat with about 3 or 4 of these gentlemen. And I tried to find out where do they live, right? And the people that they work with, where do they live? And in all reality, what I found was, and I even asked them, hey, don't just think about people our age. I want you to think about, the newcomers in your company and the more junior people. And basically the consensus is that people live in between 20 miles to 30 mile radius at max, right? So most people are living in people like Central Jersey or North Jersey or one of the non-Manhattan boroughs of New York or Connecticut. That's where they're living. Almost no one told me that anyone lives at where we are, which is more like a 50-mile radius. So what that means is I really am continue to be very concerned what the economic viability and the market research behind this proposal actually is. And if it is really not that sound, what the consequences are going to be in terms of having more of that apartment stock or more renters, more frankly low-income people, and what the consequences to the town is going to be if that would ultimately what happens, despite what this developer might think is going on. So I would frankly find it a lot more comfortable if I actually got to see what this market research actually is. Is there even a market research? And how strong it is before we do anything as drastic as putting yet another apartment complex in the town. So I do hope, I'm not obviously in government.
30 seconds.
So I hope and plead honestly that, we're going into this with very open-minded fashion and, ask all of the questions to these developers. And if things really don't look good, not to go down this path.
Hi, my name is Nicole Ramon. I'm at 155 Hillcrest Ave. And I'll keep mine very short. I just have a couple of points that are just overarching, like really important to me. One is the loss of parkland. It's just every place I've ever worked or lived, once I've seen it gone, it just never comes back. In our lifetimes, probably never. But right now, let's just worry about our lifetimes. I don't see it coming back. I know there's still be a little bit left, but the majority of it will be gone. And that is a huge concern for me. And also the economic concern, studies that I used to have to read for work, they all indicate that apartments typically cost more in services than they bring in with tax dollars. So again, I just don't see how losing parkland and losing money it just doesn't, I don't know, that just does not make sense to me. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, looks like we have Elizabeth Lester Abdallah.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Lester Abdallah. I live at 1328 Polo Run Drive. So I'm a resident of LMT and not Morrisville, which I recognize that and take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I'm a member of the local Presbyterian Church and invested in this community as well. So I just had a couple of comments or questions concerning the land, that part of the proposal concerns. I think in your packet, you have a copy of the lease and the deed for Williamson Park. The lease that is dated from May 2nd, 1939 and runs for 99 years. And then there's a deed of trust underlying the land upon which the lease is based, held by 3 churches in Trenton, First Baptist, First Presbyterian, and Turning Point Methodist. The land was deeded to them in 1885 and says that, quote, they shall hold in trust as a park for the use of the several churches of what is basically Trenton and Morrisville. And then the lease to the borough states that the lease is because, quote, the borough of Morrisville is desirous of developing a park for recreational purposes for for the use of residents of the borough of Morrisville to be known as Williamson Park, end quote, and that the purposes of the deed are best realized, quote, by leasing the aforesaid land to the borough of Morrisville to be a part of the park development, end quote. And the terms of the lease include things like planting the same number of trees that are removed if ever there are any trees removed, and keeping the park open for recreational purposes. According to the three churches, through their representatives, they have reached out to the council, to the Borough Council here, and specifically asked that they be kept informed of plans to develop Williamson Park, since this concerns the land that they hold the trust for. But they were not contacted by anyone on behalf of the borough or council regarding the December 7th presentation that Mr. McGrath and his lawyer made to the council, or the December 21st meeting in which the council unanimously approved the preliminary proposal. I also know that Mr. McGrath and his lawyer made mention at the presentation that the redevelopment authority of Bucks County would be getting involved if the preliminary proposal was approved, which you all did unanimously in December. So to either purchase the church's interest or to condemn the land. My questions are just related to that. Why is the RDA involved? Since their stated purpose, both in law and also on their website, is to help in the rehabilitation of blighted and deteriorated properties, which this does not seem to be. Also wondering why the borough or council haven't reached out to the Trenton churches when this clearly concerns their land, and the lease between the borough and these churches is not set to expire for another 18 years. So I'm just wondering if the council is empowering the RDA to break that lease, to either buy the church's land or condemn
30
it.
seconds.
Okay, and if so, what the legal basis for that breaking the lease is? And then finally, just why was condemnation even discussed at all by Mr. McGrath's lawyer and designating this area as blighted when Williamson Park does not appear to meet any of the conditions for blight that are in the Pennsylvania statute for blight? So basically, I just want to know, and also for the residents of Morrisville to know, what the RDA's role in all of this is, and their purpose, and what is being done regarding the land that is currently held by the churches in Trenton and leased to the borough. So thank you, and I hope that there can be answers at some point. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next, looks like we have Shana or Shanna. Shanna? I'm not sure if they're there. We'll come back to them. Stephen Hopp.
Hi, yeah, my name is Stephen Hoppy. I'm actually 121 Park Avenue. I'm mostly here tonight because I would like to be appointed to the zoning board. But separately from that, just as a private citizen, I hear a lot of talk about the plans for the park. I'm not going to comment directly on that. But one concern I have, I moved in about a year ago, bought the property here. Spent a lot of time working from home this year and have seen the traffic patterns around Park Avenue and Central Avenue. And one of the huge quality of life issues I see with the park as it currently stands is the frequent large truck traffic that is diverted down our streets around the corner and basically disrupts, the quiet neighborhood that we live in, disrupts levee recreation. It disrupts Williamson Park recreation. And I would love to see the borough work with the Bridge Authority or the Bridge Commission, the state police, and other policing authorities in the area to develop a way to divert these trucks from coming down our street, because it's usually when they're pulled over and then diverted down the street. The street's not built for that. It's deteriorating the actual conditions of the roadway, and I would love to see something about that, as well as signage down at the end. It's supposed to be no parking near the park. It's a large parking lot in Williamson Park, but a lot of residents I notice, especially folks from New Jersey that come over to use Williamson Park, like to park down at the end of the street here around the corner, which makes it even harder for these trucks to navigate and then continue on. That's it. I just think, there's a lot of things we could do for the park in the future, but right now there's a couple of real quality of life issues that I'd like to see the borough investigate. Thank you.
Hey, Stephen, I have a question for you. I don't recall, does Park Avenue have a sign that says no trucks except for local deliveries?
It does not. And like I said, it's usually a policing action that diverts the truck, because they're not, most of these trucks are too large to go over the Trenton Makes Bridge. They're not allowed to go down other streets in the area. There's actually no sign on Pennsylvania when you turn left onto Bridge Street that says truck for a certain limit not allowed. I think that would actually help a lot because it seems a lot of them make that left, get stuck before the bridge, diverted down Park Avenue, and I'm just waiting to hear a large crash down at the end as they can't make the curve.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Steve, this is Scott here. I'm in the second ward. I understand the issue with that. I think it's I'm not speaking for the Bridge Commission or PSP, the state police, but I believe it's more than likely a safety issue. Again, it's an unfortunate outcome of the safety issue versus stopping the truck right on Bridge Street and citing it or inspecting it versus getting it off of Main Street onto Park. And I understand it's
Scott, I totally understand they've got to pull these trucks over somewhere. I think investigating a diversionary area to do that's away from all sorts of traffic. I mean, trucks are banned on lots of streets right in that area. I don't see why we would allow them to go down these small residential streets, especially with the curve at the end. So that's all I'm looking at.
From them coming across the bridge, we don't have any jurisdiction over on that side, so we can't catch them until it's too late, for lack of a better phrase. And I mean, if they could be escorted down to Delmore and make a right on Delmore and go down to the parking lot down the island and be dealt with down there, or I'm sure there's something we can look into. But
if the parking area park was redeveloped and there was a way to include some pullover area for that, I think that'd be a really smart idea.
Right. So
it's also, I mean, everybody talks about how used the park is. I do see a lot of people there, especially small people, children, just waiting for a disaster to happen as the kid runs off to the street.
Right. I get it. Thank you, Steve.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. I'm going to try Shana again, or Shanna, if you're there.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, my name's Josh Adair. I live on 49 North Delmore. I'm in the park every single day. That's the first place I go when I get up. I walk across the street. I take my dog out. I clean up his poop, and I do what I got to do. I enjoy that park. I'm not going to keep you long. I just want to let you know I'm another member of the community that doesn't want this. And I find that there's like two kinds of people here. They're either people that don't know this is about to happen, or they don't want it to happen if they do know it's going to happen. It's going to impact our lives a lot bigger than we realize. Traffic, I want to know, traffic on Bridge Street, imagine that for a minute during rush hour now. You got all these businesses and more places for people to live. I mean, just think about it for a second. Do you live here? I mean, if you do live here, that's something we should think about. I haven't heard anybody talk about the wildlife that's down there. I don't know where they're supposed to go. I don't know where the kids are supposed to play anymore. I mean, where do we start caring about things like this? I haven't heard anything about an environmental impact plan. I want to know about that. Is that something that's available to the public? If it is, like, where is it? So that's pretty much, I just want to voice my concerns, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Thanks very much.
Right, thank you. We've got an Ava KP, or Eva.
Hello, good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. So a lot of the things have already been addressed this evening.
Name and an address, please.
85 Central Avenue. I'm also one of the residents that are in the immediate area or around the park. And one of the major concerns that I have is that we really hear almost nothing about the development and how that would impact, especially residents along Delmore Avenue and along Central and Park Avenue. What I am also missing in all of the discussions is really seeing the facts, what this development would actually do for us. It always says, well, it will definitely reduce taxes, but I would really like to see numbers. What does that mean? How much are we reducing it, or how much will it in fact go up? So we need much more clarity there. Also, there has never been any communication with us here, and I've lived here for a year, what that would mean when construction machinery would be brought in, what impact that would have on us, the noise, the disruption here of the peaceful neighborhood, the toxins in the air from all of that. Plus, I see today firsthand when the snow was melting, the entire park where the grocery store and hotel and parking lot is supposed to be built is basically a beautiful pond, and the ducks are enjoying it very much. So, of course, there can be studies done and there can be found some ways of leading that water somewhere else. But I'm very much convinced that this will just be a threat to our basements and to our backyards, as well as the levee, that it might not function anymore. So that's a big concern of mine. Then in your comprehensive plan, you state that people enjoy living here for its small town feel. However, when I look at the proposed development, they are thinking of bringing in people who will then go to Philadelphia or New York City. Also, it says in the comprehensive plan that there's a focus on families and kids. The way I understand this development, it's really more for millennials who want to focus on their careers and just see this as a nice way of living close to major highways and the train station. So this actually goes against what the comprehensive plan states about this beautiful town of Morrisville. Then transport or the traffic pattern has been brought up, and that is also a major concern of mine, because when you plan a development of such grandeur, why not thinking of other parts in town where there wouldn't be such a bottleneck, because people are, as it is, standing on the bridge at 5 o'clock in the evening or
30 seconds.
And so this has to really be reconsidered. Plus, another concern of mine is how will this impact all the other parts in town that are basically empty right now, that also need to be developed or redeveloped. Just putting a nicely looking, wonderful town center in the park might sound wonderful for the developer, but how will this really help our town? So lots of questions I would really like to see answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ava. I don't see anyone else with their hand raised, so I think we may be finished with this.
I'm sorry, I was muted. All right, we're moving on to 6A, which is approval of the Borough Council budget meeting of 12/10/2020. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Discussion. All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. 7, Finance. 7A, the Treasurer's Report. Micah, did you get that out? I don't remember seeing it.
The Treasurer's Report?
Yes.
Oh,
the
we sent
financial
the bill
report.
list out.
Did you get the
Yeah, the financial statement went out this afternoon.
Okay. All right.
Sue sent it, I believe.
All right. So everybody should
An
have gotten
email?
it.
I believe they dropped it.
Yeah. Well, the bill list. 6.
I didn't see that either.
7B is the call for a motion to approve the bill list, which did go out in the drop on Friday. So can I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
You have a motion and a second. Comments?
This is on the bill list, is that correct? I'm sorry, I was distracted for a moment.
Yeah, it's
Is
on
that correct?
7B. Yes.
I just have a question for Micah. Maybe he knows offhand. If not, We did receive a check for tonnage for recycling tonnage. I'm sorry, we paid, what, $950? Do you know what the time period was for that?
No, I do not. If you want to shoot me an email, I'll look into it.
Okay, all right. That's all, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a question. So Micah, are you looking, I know that when we were in the budget process, one of Mr. Mitchell's concerns was that, there wouldn't be enough cash to get us through until the taxes came in. How does the cash flow look?
I think Mr. Mitchell's presumption is correct. It's going to be tight.
Are you doing a cash flow analysis to see how it's going to be?
I look at the bank every day.
Can you do that for us in case we have any problems? Could you send us any kind of update, any analysis, anything that we should be concerned about?
Sure, I can send you the bank balances if that's what you would like to see.
Well, a cash flow analysis. Like what bills do you think are going to come versus what revenue we still have, that kind of stuff.
Well, the biggest ones are the ones that come every month. So your public, your sanitation, those are the big ones. So you see them.
I understand, but as a cash flow analysis, can you provide that or no?
I'll see what I can do.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, roll call, Virginia. Virginia?
Sorry, I was muted. Mr. Bowers?
Yes.
Mr. Lawful?
Yes.
Mr. Nickel?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Mr. Paul?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, now we can.
Ah, sorry about that.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherlock?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes. Okay, motion passes. All right, on to report. Don't believe we have a mayor's report. I don't believe he's with us. Police chief report. The police chief did forward a report, and I will read it. It is the chief's report for 12/16/2021. Please excuse my absence tonight. I am securing the vaccine site at the Newtown campus of the Bucks County Community College with the major incident response team. On January 24th, Morrisville Police, along with the Peace Center and the Bucks County District Attorney's Office, hosted Walking While Black, which hosted approximately 110 participants along with 10 police officers. Each participant watched the movie and then engaged in a conversation in small groups. This was a great event for all involved. On February 18th, I will be meeting with the Bucks County chapter of the NAACP. The chapter has been meeting with departments around Bucks County to talk about the future of policing and to gather specifics of how each department operates. Thank you. Manager's report. Do we have anything, Micah, that you'd like to report on?
Not at this time.
Okay. 8D is committee reports. Do we have any committees that wish to report anything?
Ted, you and Nancy went to the school board meeting. Do you have anything to tell us about that?
No, I was just going to get to that after. There was really nothing. There was nothing really discussed. It was there was really, because of the fact that the district is doing distance learning, there wasn't really much to discuss.
They're going to reevaluate at the end of the next,
Right.
the next quarter. There's no word on the Manor Park School at this time. Nothing that can be shared yet with the public. I mean, they have they have an agreement, I think, or we're working on an agreement. And that was it. It was a very quick meeting.
All right, if no one else has anything, we'll move on to action items. And we only have one, which is 9A, a motion to affirm Micah Hines to continue as acting borough manager until such time a full-time manager is hired.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to thank Micah for taking this on. I know you were already pretty well maxed out, Micah, and having less resources is never a good thing. I appreciate you jumping in and doing what needs to be done for us.
I will do my best.
And I'd like to second that. That yes, you have taken on a lot, and we appreciate it. Anyone else? All right. Virginia, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Bowers?
Yes.
Ms. Alaho?
Yes.
Mr. Nichol?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherlock?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes. Okay, motion passes 8-0. That's the end of the action items. We do have some committee and appointments, committee and board appointments. They're actually both boards. The first one is the Recreation Advisory Board. It's 3 2-year appointments set to expire in May 21st, 2022. I believe we've officially only received one letter of interest, if I can find it, from a Mr. King. Yes, from Mr. Jack.
Can we, I'm sorry, Ted, I thought we nominated Mr. King and
I thought we did. I don't
Brett
have
to the rec board.
Yet, and I couldn't find my. I thought we did. I was back and forth with Virginia. The minutes aren't ready yet, and I cannot find any notes.
We had discussion about that, but we never furthered it. We said that we were going to hold off because there was no recreation board meeting.
Right.
And
no, I thought we voted for Mr. King and Brud, and we left one open.
I don't have the minutes, so I couldn't. I haven't had a chance to go back to them to view the meeting. So,
because Mr. Bowers said that why would we wait when somebody had an interest, and that then we voted in Mr. King.
I guess we'd have to wait for the record, but I really thought we dismissed the whole thing because.
Well, I'm not opposed to.
Do you remember?
My notes indicate we voted in Jack King with a vote yes 8-0, and Brett Anderson with a vote of yes 7-1.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
And I don't think we had a third, and I thought we were going to allow the current people. I think Noel Sperry was one. I don't know if he put in a letter or not. He was here, he left.
Well,
But-
I mean, they haven't met yet. So, I mean, if we want to wait another month to give anybody an opportunity to put in a letter of interest rather than just pull a name out of the air, I'm okay with that, as long as everyone else is.
I guess we could do that. I mean, I'm okay with that.
Is
Jane's
everyone
got her
else?
hand.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Jane wants to say something. I don't know if she's planning on.
I was at the meeting last month and I wrote notes for everything. And you did appoint Jack King and Brug Anderson, votes 8-0 to the
And 7-1.
Recreation
Yeah, well,
Advisory Board.
I just pulled up my notes.
You just found it
That's
too? Okay.
That's what I thought, and I was actually questioning the borough, and we weren't sure. So, is everyone okay with waiting to see if anyone else puts in for the one position that's open?
Sure.
I think we should, since we don't have an official name.
We don't have an official name. All right. Moving on to the zoning hearing board. It's a 1 3-year term to expire on January 2nd, 2023. We had two people put in.
I have a question about, didn't we say, or I thought I said that it should be 2024, the 3-year term?
Yes, correct.
So it's actually expires on 1/2/2024. And I at this point, I'd like to nominate Suzanne Zukowski.
All right, we have a nomination. Do we have another?
I'd like to nominate Stephen Hope.
All right, we have a nomination. Do we have another? Hearing none, I'm going to close nominations. All right. I guess since we have just two names, we'll just go through. Virginia will do a roll call, and we'll just say the person that we wish to go through, and if they have a majority, then that person will be appointed.
Ted, there's actually, yes, there's actually, I believe, one position and then one that is a
alternate.
Alternate.
Yes. So there's actually two positions available. Suzanne happens to be on it currently, but the alternate position expires tomorrow. So there are two positions.
Well, let's do the 3-year appointment first, and then if anybody wants to nominate someone for the alternate, then we'll do that one. So,
okay.
So I have two nominations. Nominations are closed for the 3-year term to expire on 1/2/2024. Virginia, could you do a roll call, and each member of council will state the person that they wish to nominate for the position?
Yeah. Mr. Bowers?
Stephen Hop.
Ms. Halahal?
Stephen Hop.
Mr. Nickel?
Stephen Hop.
Mr. Paul?
Suzanne Zukowski.
Mr. Robinson?
Stephen Hop.
Mrs. Sherlock?
Susan Zukowski.
Mr. Yeager?
Susan Zukowski.
And Mr. Parker?
Is he muted?
No, I'm not. I'm back on.
Oh.
I guess Mr. Hop.
Okay. So Stephen
Congratulations.
has 5 votes. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Welcome.
All right. We have the alternate position.
I'd like to nominate Suzanne Zukowski for the alternate position.
I just wanted to
Sorry.
just wanted to confirm the length of that term before.
That is also a 3-year term, and it will expire February 17th of 2024.
2024. Okay.
Yes.
So it's a 3-year term as an alternate to expire on February 17th, 2024. We have a nomination already. Do we have any other? Do we have any others? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to close nominations. Since we only have one person, we're just going to do a roll call, yes or no.
Do we have to advertise that before we can just vote for an alternate?
I believe
it's been on the
been
website.
up. Yeah, it's been up for a while.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking.
Yeah. And actually, the current alternate has been advising the borough that his term is up and he's not asking to be reappointed. So, all right. So we have a nomination and only one nomination, and nominations are closed. So, Virginia, can we do a roll call? It's a yes or no from council for Suzanne Stokowski.
Okay. Mr. Bowers?
No.
Ms. Olavo?
No.
Mr. Nichol?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson? Mr. Robinson?
No.
Mrs. Sherlock?
Yes.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So 5-3 on that vote.
Great. Yes. So, congratulations, Suzanne. All right. We're almost there. All right. 10 is other business. I put in discussion on the comprehensive plan. I don't know if anybody else wants to discuss this anymore, or I know there are some corrections that need to be done again, and we were given an email to forward them on. So if anybody else has anything they want to add about it, or if they have any other things they want to discuss about other business.
I have a few questions, but I didn't want to have to spend the time this evening. I think I just think it might be, I don't want to belabor it, but should we be contacting not just the Bucks County Planning Commission, but wouldn't it be also prudent to go with our local Planning Commission and see
I would recommend.
They have to say.
Yeah, I would recommend both. I mean, anything that was
I'd
sent
like-
to the county, I would recommend that we CC the chair of ours.
Yeah, that's what I think I'd like to do that. So my couple questions I'll send off to them. I think one of the one thing that concerns me is this a blueprint for the future. That's the plan that we have, and it's referenced, but that's never been officially approved. So it's just something I think we have to review.
Okay.
So Ted, what is the process though with these changes? Like a lot of residents had commentary, and they're not wrong, but are they just to send that off to the Bucks County Planning Commission, or like what is the process for these changes? Because you can't have 5,000 people sending in their opinions on things.
Well, I mean, that's part of the Planning Commission's responsibilities to go through the boroughs. Boroughs, Planning Commission, the borough councils, and then the publics. What was sent to the borough, we'll forward off. We'll make sure it gets forwarded off to both the Bucks County Planning Commission as well as our own. But they're the one who works on ferreting out the changes and stuff that are relevant or needed or whatever. So, I wouldn't recommend that the public, all the public just starts emailing them right away with them, every change that they might have. But I think if the ones that we've already gotten, and I believe they've listened to the comments that were made tonight, and we'll take those recommendations.
Okay.
Mr. President, I have a comment.
Go ahead, sir.
Based on some of the comments that we got from the public tonight, I just wanted to point out that council isn't directly involved in writing this document. This planning document is being done through the Planning Commission at their meetings, and it's being paid for the Bucks County Planning Commission to come in and basically, from what I can tell, do the majority of the work and the updating. So comments that are directed at council trying to sneak things into this plan are absolutely 100% incorrect, because council has no direct input into this plan. Basically, what has been posted on the website has actually been posted most of the time before council even got the comprehensive plan. So I just want to point that out, that this has been ongoing for, I don't know, better of a year and a half, in conjunction with our planning commission
Since
and
2019.
at their meetings. And it's just finally come to council for consideration and some slight modification.
Exactly.
Mr. Parker,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
council ultimately has to, they're
Adopt
the
it.
ones that have to adopt it. So
Yes.
I think that if we have anything that we prefer or when,
Right.
having conversation with our local planning commission, planning commission, I think we should go,
Right.
I think we should do that.
Yeah, yes. I think if I don't want to speak for you, Mr. Bowers, but I believe you were referring to some of the comments that made it seem like council is sneaking changes into this. And some of the things that they highlighted that they've taken out of context and tried to make it seem like we're sneaking changes in to make things more favorable for development, stuff like that. Is that what you were referring to?
You're correct, Ed.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I ignored a lot of the comments and the comments about the development in the park. There was a lot of comments, insinuating that we're hiding things and moving forward with things, and I'm just not going to address conspiracy theories, and it's not worth my time nor the council's to worry about what people see behind the behind the next corner that's not really there. We're in the preliminary stages of getting a proposal that somebody wants to make a development. They did a proposal, and that's where we are. We're waiting for him. And, there's, like we said before, there's 1,000,001 things that this development needs to do and meet before it moves anywhere. And to just make assumptions that we're sneaking things through, it's frustrating, but we have to, just do our due diligence. And when there's something to report to the public, we report it. That's the transparency that we work on. It's when we have actually something to present, we will present it. And right now there is nothing to present that hasn't already been presented to the public. So I'm getting off my soapbox. Anybody else? I'm sorry, Nancy, go ahead.
Just something quick. I do agree that there's a lot of reference to that plan in the comprehensive plan, which I think really, without completely watering it down, I think it needs to be referenced. But even Mike Roding said you can reference it, but it's not, the merits will eventually have to come after the plan has even been formally vetted. So I think it's in there a little bit too much. That's just my personal opinion. And when looking at what was passed with regards to Bridge Street and so forth, the other side of Bridge Street, the east side of Bridge Street, east of Delmore Avenue, wasn't included in some of those original zonings. So, but now they're referenced as such. So those are the only things I'd like to fix. So,
and like we go back to what Mr. Bauer said, it's a plan developed by the Bucks County, Planning Commission, and it's funded by them. And there's input from council and from our own planning commission, but ultimately it's their comprehensive plan. And we need to highlight things that we don't want. And if that's one of them and everybody agrees, then we can forward that on to them.
But I disagree that it's not their plan. It's Morrisville's plan.
It's developed by them for us, and we need to make the
for us, right? We pay them to help us do it.
It has all of our names on it.
I agree with that, but we need to direct
our
them.
plan. It's everyone's plan. We can't hide behind the RDA. That's ridiculous.
It's not the RDA, it's the Planning Commission.
And we're not hiding behind it.
It's our plan. It's our joint plan. We'll have to stand behind it and be comfortable with it or make changes.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. They're developing a plan for us, and we need to clarify what we want in it, not in it. That's what I said. So, all right.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Are we in our comment period now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Excuse me 1 second. I just wanted to thank Micah also for pitch hitting beautifully, I might add, for our manager in court.
Yes.
A week or so ago, whenever I lost track. As you recall, originally the judge scheduled it for like weeks after the February 1st deadline. And then we wrote to him and we had this whole back and forth. He gave us 2 hours to give him the sites, and we wrote back in 15 minutes and gave him what he wanted. And then he said, and he moved the hearing to February 1st, which was the deadline. And I wrote back saying, we'll be there, just hope it doesn't snow. And of course we had a snowstorm. They closed the court and they closed the courthouse down for 2 days. And so we finally got in. Micah did a phenomenal job pinch hitting for our manager, and it was approved by the judge. Thank you.
Mr. Yeager.
Yes, thank you. I do want to touch base because there was a lot of comments on the park. I'm not going to take up too much time, but I do want to address a couple of things. One, somebody made mention about Gilmore Associates making a decision to not move forward with the plan. That is not accurate. The borough decided that and pushed that to Gilmore Associates for a couple of reasons. One, COVID-19 was a big reason. The other big reason was the cost. And not knowing with COVID-19 how our financials were going to look for 2020. And third was, yes, to listen to the proposed plan. Now, for everybody who has comments about the proposed plan and concerns about it, I appreciate you. Keep speaking up. I got no problem with that. I am not ignoring you. I'm hearing every word. But I just want you to think for a minute and put yourself in council's position. We're looking in the face of $100 to $150 million investment into our town. If we want to be able to answer all of the questions that you guys have, you want to know the impact, you want to know how it's going to benefit us, you want to know whether it's going to cost, which it shouldn't cost the taxpayer anything. That's why the developer does it. But all these things that we have questions about, no one can answer if we don't allow the process to take place. So understand that as we're council watching everybody, and we're talking 8,000 plus people, not a couple of dozen, 8,000 plus people we have the best interests of. So as we're doing that, if we were to take the stance of we don't even want to hear about this, you'll never get your questions answered. So as we're going through this process, guys, again, keep speaking up, keep giving your opinions, and keep getting involved. That's healthy. That's great. But understand that what you're up against is questioning whether or not looking into it to be able to answer the questions is the right answer. And in my opinion, getting the information is the only answer. If we just shut the door on the option and we don't let the developer bring to us his findings and let him do his due diligence, no one will ever be able to answer any of the questions you guys have. So just please understand and be patient, because these things don't move in a day or two. These things take a very long time to manifest. So when you don't hear anything for a month or two, it's because we haven't heard anything for a month or two, because this is the time frame that it takes to really do deep dive due diligence. Now, I've spoken directly, as all council has, I believe at this point, directly to the developer, and I've spoken to them personally about Morrisville Little League. The very first time I spoke to the developer, I said, what are you going to do about Morrisville Little League? I believe the answer that they're giving right now isn't, we don't know what to do at Morrisville Little League, because they said it in the last meeting that they presented. They're waiting for council to give them some guidance. In other words, they can't just go ahead and say they're taking a piece of property that they don't own to build ball fields. So they've peeled back to just give you the honest answer of, well, council and the town needs to tell us where these fields would go. So just understand that this is going to be a very long process, dealing with this a year, 2 years down the road on this thing. This isn't something that I would expect anyone to have a boatload of movement on, or any movement on, for quite some time. So if you feel like you're not getting information, it's because this is how long things take like this. These things are not done overnight, guys. And I just wanted to address, because I hear you. I understand you're frustrated, and I am not ignoring you. I hear every word you're saying, and I want you guys to know that it's not, if you're hearing that we're listening to the developer, it's because we want to get those same answers you guys do, but we can't if we just shut the door on them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right. Hearing no one else, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All of us. Second.
Yes.
Anybody?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.